Hello, I'm Beth Hirstman, and my background is working with people who have disabilities in sport and physical education settings. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today in terms of how to communicate with people who have disabilities, how to best include them, and really just benefits of why we would want to include people with disabilities, particularly in sport and physical activity settings. So first, just a little bit about me and my experiences. I have a doctorate in adapted physical education, which essentially means that I have experience in physical education, physical activity settings for people with disabilities. And so with that, then I have experienced a lot of different sports like wheelchair rugby, goalball, which is a sport for people who are blind. I've done track and field events for Special Olympics, things like that. So today, just some different benefits of inclusion. I mean, that's essentially, inclusion is what we want. This is where we put people with and without disabilities in a setting together where everybody participates, everybody's a part of the team, everybody is being active and successful at some level. And so different benefits there for the people who have disabilities. Things like feeling a part of the team, better self-esteem. We know there are a lot of different benefits for just being physically active in general. So things like health, reducing obesity, secondary health conditions like heart problems, things like that. And then the other thing that we want to consider is that there are also benefits for people who don't have disabilities in terms of, them actually having the opportunity to interact with people who have disabilities, learn about them, learn about their challenges, and then also just to appreciate them for who they are and what they're able to do. And then the other thing is actually learning how to communicate with people who have disabilities. And that's something else I wanted to talk to you about today. And for that, in terms of just communication tips, things to kind of keep in mind, this is going to be things like when you're talking to somebody who has a disability, maybe if they're in a wheelchair, that would be get down to eye level with them. So I don't want to sit here and just look way down at them. You want to make sure like you either squat down or sit down in a chair beside them so that they don't feel like they're being stared at or looked down upon. When you introduce yourself, go to shake their hand just like you would anybody else. They might have to shake hands a little differently or their grip might be different. But you know what? That's fine because you're still treating them as though they are a person and they matter. Another thing to consider if you're working with somebody who is blind or visually impaired, when you walk into the room or into the setting where they're at, make sure you introduce yourself, say, hey, it's Beth, I'm here, just want to see how you're doing, whatever. But let them know you're there and let them know when you leave. When you work with somebody who is deaf or hard of hearing, you don't need to yell or over-exaggerate your lips, anything like that. Just make sure that you are actually talking and facing them rather than talking to their interpreter and then letting the interpreter interpret what it is that you're saying. Anybody with a disability just wants to feel as though they're included, they're part of the team, they're able to participate and be successful. And that's really what anybody wants. So just keep those tips in mind when you work with people who have disabilities and just appreciate the experience that you get because it is something, a lot of the time we typically just kind of go through our daily lives and do our normal day-to-day activities and we overlook a lot of things. So we overlook the opportunity that we could have to interact with people who have disabilities. So just keep that in mind when you're out and about. If you see somebody with a disability, now you know how to interact with them better.